The university is wrong. 3. The European wars have always been about overcrowding and the resultant lack of resources, options, and competition. This reality is no game. Experts assert we can survive a human population explosion and all its destruction, pollution, etc. Experts assert between 1900 and 2000 world population increased from 1.5 to 6.1 billion people. Experts assert between 2000 and 2016 the population rose to 7.4 billion. Experts assert the population will not hit 8 billion until 2024, but that does conflict with the facts. Experts assert the population increase is and has always been less than 2% except in 62. Experts assert the population increase for the last 16 years is a steady 80 million more per year. They also predict a slowing birth rate will only double global population by 2100. Reality states in very simple math for easy understanding that for the 100 years prior to 2000 there was an increase in humanity of 4.6 billion people, or 4 times more than in 2000 than in 1900. Or more simply, where there was 1 person standing in 1900, there were 5 people standing in 2000. 2% in simple math means each group of 100 individuals randomly chosen in all age categories means 2 more babies per year exist than did die the previous year. Or each year there are 102 people instead of 100 the previous year. 2% over 100 years in simple math becomes 200%, or double the population. In more complex math, the number becomes 4 times higher because each year more women exist to produce babies. So let's look at today. 6.1 billion times 2% equals 122 million, whereas 7.4 times billion times 2% equals 148 million more mouths to feed, an increase in the yearly birth rate of 26 million more in 2016 if all things remained the same. At 16 years from 2000, consider the increase in traffic, the need for work, and all the rest that goes with it. World population reached 3 billion in 1960, 4 billion in 1974, that's 14 years later, 5 billion in 87, that's 13 years later, 6 billion in 99, that's 12 years later. Their predictions do not add up for today. The numbers say we have already hit 8 billion people because nothing has changed. That means today this world adds 100 million or more mouths to feed each year. Another billion in 10 years or less. Consider the garbage that goes with that. Or more descriptively, the entire population of this United States is doubled but spread out across the planet, thereby added to the world population every 3 years. Babies grow and need more. Just 1 pound of food per additional person is 100 million pounds per day, which times 365 days a year is 36.5 billion pounds more per year, just for babies born this year. As a humanity of 7.4 billion, eating just 1 pound per person per day, 7.4 billion pounds per day, or at 365 days, means we have consumed 2,701 billion pounds of food. That's just for 1 pound of milk, which equals 2 cups per day, per individual. All living organisms, livestock, pollinators, insects, fish, etc. need food too, water, etc. Leaders move numbers in any direction that favors their decision and their motives. It's a historical fact. So the experts say the human population rise from 2000 to 2100 will be less than double. They are wrong. The cost of being wrong here is walking blindly into the abyss of no food, no water, mass extinction, food chain destruction, increased pollution, traffic, and everything else, with no real opportunity to change that because it's just too late. With too many people to survive on this finite planet, that means only war, cannibalism, and hell is left. Pope Paul was called one tiny little thing went wrong, so hell broke loose. Clearly, the university expert is saying, don't worry about it, whereas all possibilities, including common sense, demand if we fail now, there will be no life left to save. We must prepare rather than run away and let all the children die. The planet will be doomed, just like all of civilization, if we fail life. If you pick up your gun, you simply multiply Syrian destruction, which includes mass migration across the world. That cannot go on. World forces must establish safety zones inside of Syria and protect the women and children there. Men create war, so men must end it. No sanctuary for them. Fight or end it one way or the other, instead of just waiting to die, as is the university method. We need to act as humanity joined on Earth with one overriding concern. If you kill 1 billion people, there are still roughly 6 or 7 billion left, along with all the disease that death would bring. It won't work. That day is over. War is not an answer. Instead of rushing to save every baby, you need to pay the women to permanently have only one child and no more than 2. As a world, it's their body, it's their decision. It's their body, it's their decision. But if you don't, this is global warming, and that's the result of humanity burning fossil fuel. Giving men a vasectomy is worthless, as they cannot produce children. This only removes the chemicals which make sex enjoyable to them, ending their sexual relations with women. That is not a good solution. Extermination from the planet means that one critical link in our survival relationship with life itself has failed. It only takes one essential element lost to kill any and all life associated with it. Included, when fracking destroys an aquifer, what can you do? No water is death in 3 or 4 days. No water means millions in a city will move instantly, demanding your water. Within that truth are the university experts who mutilate genetics across this world, changing nature by contributing their intentional chaos instead. One unfortunate change, and like AIDS, we cannot turn it back. It is terrorism against all life because they know nothing of critical relationships in life. One tiny link lost and reproduction fails, or the body fails, or the ability to eat fails, or breathe, or the heart pumping, any of it. All of it fails. One little bitty problem. Extermination by university decision includes, sure, we can ignite an atomic fire because a 10 million degree fire which clearly burns atoms will just put itself out. So they say. Not enough gravity here, so they say. Wrong is our planet itself on fire, just like the sun. We know that fire exists, therefore it can come here. And every day scientists try to make it so. Environmental destruction is evident today because too many people are already here for a safe world that can survive its future. The children are dead in a few short years. They will have no options. But there is no guarantee we can survive, even if we try. The universities say don't bother with life behind closed doors. It's take all they can get. Nothing is more selfish than that. Universities did change this world. Antibiotics and vaccines stopped death, and because no other change is made, population increased. Food production has also made population increase possible, but the methods completely disrespected the planet, its oceans, and discarded the environmental and life consequences of these changes. And all the people participated with glee. But playtime is over. The bill is due. The discipline of life is to accept whatever reality teaches is true. The balance of living is to understand which choices are true and to be valued. Order then decides among what has value, what can be the decisions for change. This is living with choice through duty rather than fantasy leads. Or you just didn't care enough to fight for your world. The constant is, I want what I want and nothing else but what I want, regardless of the cost to life itself. That's throughout society. 1 in 6 people in America face hunger issues today. In 2014, 46.7 million people were living in poverty in America. That's growing. Roughly 1 billion people in this world face hunger issues, and only 3% of the people control almost all the money, therefore the resources as well. What matters is, when there is not enough to go around, people are discarded. They then get angry, as is true for Syria. They then create problems or war for the rest when overcrowding a serious genocide begins. What matters is livestock confinement has no current alternatives, and it is entirely dependent upon antibiotics because one disease can destroy them all. Antibiotics are failing, which means all livestock confinement is doomed and can collapse completely, affecting not only our food, but 90% of medicine as well, because there's no surgery without antibiotics. What matters is the trawler fishing industry takes them all, leaving nothing to regenerate the next generation or feed the predator fish who then also die out. What matters is human activities are destroying life in the oceans of this world without restraint. Sea life feeds at least 1 billion people, and when it collapses, we go to war. We have nothing to eat. Different methods must be used. One such method is dead human bodies must be used to feed the sea. It is the only way, it's all we have left to do that with. Get over it. What matters is the baseline food groups, which then keep more complex life alive, is being decimated. Food chains are being broken. One such food group is insects, which do feed rivers and their fish, birds, amphibians, reptiles, small mammals, and more. When the insects disappear, so do the creatures which use them for food, and the plants which require them for pollination. If they don't do it, we must, or we lose fruits and vegetables of all kinds. It's a very large list. Particularly devastated by agricultural practice, the Ogallala aquifer is dry in some places, which means the Dust Bowl of the 30s is going to return. That's what stopped it. What matters is we all need drinking water, and aquifers only recharge 1 inch per 50 inches of rainfall. Every source of drinking water is under attack. A hotter globe means more water is needed by life. What matters is we all need oxygen, but every fire and every engine needs oxygen too. Look around, asphyxiation is coming. Sea life needs oxygen too. Even the atmosphere itself cannot hold all the CO2 humanity can produce. What matters is we all need resources to live and to work. The university leads cause the world to believe you can just throw these resources away. This world is finite, and we, the human race, standing 1 person every 3 feet, wrap this world at the equator, standing on the water too, about 168 times in a continuous line 22.2 billion feet long and growing every day. What matters is weapons of mass destruction are held by a wide variety of people. Just one small step and our world dies. World law and enforcement of that law on our leaders is absolutely essential. We the people decide what that law shall be, including every nation provides individuals to do the policing against leaders. It is a world effort. What matters is respect life. That means nature too, and planet, and its realities by its truth, or we all die. Nature brought us here. We can't do better than nature itself. Change is mandatory. Our world has changed because of overpopulation and human decision. So must we. What matters is we govern ourselves with law. We create by our own vote. Well, we can do that. Choosing not to vote for someone to vote for me, but voting on the law that governs life and society for ourselves. It is that simple. Once done, it need not be changed unless we decide to do it ourselves. What matters is we all need fair and equal treatment as individuals in society. That requires limited capitalism. That means we decide by our own vote what the boundaries and limits of any personal or group influence upon our society shall be. We set the limits of income and property for both rich and poor by our vote. Reality is truth proven by the evidence. Fantasy is an avoidance of all things important or real to life itself. University leadership has been in control over every major social, societal, economic, and world decision for decades. Today does prove what they did do. It is complete failure for life and planet. As in the photo which identifies what happens when you put the backup generators for a nuclear plant in the worst possible location. University-controlled media hides all the facts and fails to reveal all necessary information. They have become the enemy in some ways. But the public, believing they have no say, refuses to listen. Both fail equally. Because our democracy is stolen by a few leaders who refuse to obey constitutional law and have banned it from the courts, that is proven by me in court. There's also a problem is our people do not elect a president here. The Electoral College does. Failing life is treason. Desertion of duty, when knowing the future includes extinction without change, is essentially Satan on earth, believe it or not. We do stand at the edge of chaos in nature, environment, oceans, everything. Because nothing the university leadership, every leader has a diploma, nothing they do protects life must come first for the planet itself and all of its nature, and not just you or me. We need this world. Consider this because it is necessary to think for yourself. A leader is only necessary for a herd of animals or a pack of predators. Being human lets us rely upon the law. Unfortunately, corruption, conspiracy, collusion, hate, theft, lies, cheating, betrayal, anarchy, and more dilute and take that justice away, which means change must come in this too. No judge sits on a bench forever. Every trial is judged and graded by all the participants. Society then chooses who gets to stay working within the law, which does include judges and lawyers. We will decide, with democracy enforced, who brings us justice and remove those who do not. We enforce constitutional law which declares that the president can only be elected twice. Then that is true for all the rest who can be elected to a job in government as well. These are life and death decisions for our world because an investigation will prove the facts of our potential extermination from this planet are real. The correct foundation of law and democracy is already established as redress of grievances, a First Amendment law guaranteeing legal rights to the people themselves. Since this is democracy, we own the nation. Therefore, we own the right to decide what each true interpretation of the Constitution shall be by our substantial vote. Redress is we take our employees of government to court that we provide for ourselves, examining if they kept their oath of office to put the Constitution first, investigating the evidences of our reality as uncovered and plain as possible, then defining the direction within constitutional authority that this society shall now go as we see fit. We the people, not them the leaders. Failure is a catastrophe ahead, which fundamentally suggests you are hiding in a burning house. You can't survive it. Prove what is true and stand up for life instead. We do have enough tools to rebuild democracy as it was intended to be. We must accept our world is in trouble and only laws that are distinctly fair and justified will save it. We must choose to discard destructive power from our lives and governments because we are too many people for any other way. Change our relationship with government correctly, and you only need to change it once. We must choose justice for our world. Our world is so overcrowded. Everyone is fundamentally involved in whether we all live or die. The planet and its entire nature need us all. This is not a game. We are losing everything. We are killing the next generation, so much so they don't have a chance without change in this day. And neither do the majority of us. Saying the children can have our garbage as their gold mine is not an answer. What you don't know can hurt you. The universities do many things, the consequences of which can exterminate our world. They view life as a game. They believe in fantasies. Nothing says fear and investigate university leaders more than the sun, or everything is not a game. The fantasy that they can ignite our planet on fire. The sun burns atomic bonds just like chemical fires here burn molecular bonds instead. We cannot extinguish an atomic fire. Everything is fuel. Save this world. Say no and enforce that by removing their electrical power, which gives them the opportunity to ignite an atomic fire.